मैडम आपको सिर्फ इधर इधर और इधर साइन करने का है, हो गया इंश्योरेंस।
पक्का?
पक्का।
गोलमाल है भाई, सब गोलमाल है।
आवाज है?
नहीं,
गोलमाल है भाई, सब गोलमाल है।
Hey folks, CA Rachana Ranade here and I welcome you all to a very informative video which is about various clauses which may be there in your health insurance policy. Now why is this video really important? Because it may happen that you have paid a lot of premiums towards your health insurance policy, but when it comes to claiming the policy, your claim may get partially or fully rejected if you are not aware about the clauses in your policy. So stay tuned to the video till the end so that you get a lot of information about health insurance and the clauses involved therein. Before we move on, two important things. Number one, a disclaimer that whatever I am discussing are general clauses. It is not necessary that all the clauses will be there in your policy. Some may be there, some may not be there. And second thing before we move on is I would want to give a big thank you to Dr. Anup Shende and Meghra Chavan for their wonderful comments. Now let's go to the first clause, which is a co-pay clause. So let's understand this co-pay clause with the help of an example. Here we have Mr. Vichare, who thinks a lot and then goes ahead with any financial decision. But this time he was maybe in a little bit of hurry and he has taken an insurance policy from this XYZ insurance company. Due to some reason he had to claim for his health insurance, and that's what is the bill that has come up for payment. But Mr. Vichare is still pretty happy because he knows that the bill is going to be settled by the insurance company. And here comes a turning point. Now Mr. Vichare has turned into Mr. Bichare because right now he has come to know about a co-pay clause which exists in his insurance policy. Now the insurance policy mentions about a 20% co-payment. What is this? If it is mentioned that it's a 20% co-pay, out of the total bill amount, only 80% will be settled by the insurance company, whereas 20% will have to be settled by Mr. Vichare or Mr. Bichare now. So always remember, if you are going ahead with an insurance policy, check whether there is a co-pay clause in your policy or not. Positive side is that you will have to pay a comparatively lower insurance premium. But the negative side is that if the hospital bill is pretty high, you may have to shell out a big amount at the time of settling of the bill. Let's move ahead with the next clause, which is a zonal co-payment clause. And to understand this, let's reintroduce Mr. Vichare, and he has taken the insurance policy again from XYZ Limited. Now, Mr. Vichare lives in a place called as Risod, which is a taluka place in the zone of Vidarbha in Maharashtra. Now, what happens typically is that this insurance company says, okay, Mr. Vichare, we'll get you covered, no problem. But you have to take your medical treatment in the same zone, okay. In this zone, typically medical costs are comparatively lower, and that is the reason why they are okay with collecting a lower premium amount. But assume that Mr. Vichare all of a sudden says, now I'm going to take my treatment in somewhere like Pune or Mumbai. Do you think that the medical costs will be comparatively higher here? Answer is obviously yes. And if that be so, in simple words, if this person takes his medical treatment outside the zone which was defined in his insurance policy, in that case, zonal co-payment clause will come into picture, whereby whatever is his medical bill, that will be split as per whatever percentage is mentioned in his insurance policy. I hope it is clear till here. One very important point before we move on. Co-pay clause and zonal co-pay clause, they may either coexist in your policy, or it could be either or it could be none of them as well. So please check your insurance policy before you take your final decision. Now let's move on to the next set of important exclusions. So for that again, Mr. Vichare is up to some motocross madness, I guess. I don't know what is he up to. Okay. Maybe he felt that everything is covered in his insurance policy, but just for your understanding, if we are talking about adventure sports, they are a permanent exclusion from your health insurance policy. Please be aware about this point, that these expenses will not be covered by your health insurer. Second one, if you are doing any sort of drugs or narcotics abuse, that will also be forming a part of your permanent exclusion. And if you are doing any cosmetic surgeries, they will also be permanently excluded. Let's move on to the next clause, which is called as the waiting period clause. Now, what is this? Assume that there is a person who is wanting to take up an insurance policy. He signs up for that, and within next 4 or 5 days, he is detected with asthma. In such a case, typically insurance policies will say that there is a waiting period of 30 days from the commencement of the policy. So, from the commencement of policy for a period of 30 days, his claim will not be accepted. That is nothing but a waiting period. Again, let me tell you, I said generally it is 30 days. Your policy can have a different waiting period. So, please check your insurance policy, right? Second thing is that maybe a person decides that, okay, I want to take up a health insurance policy. He goes for a medical test, and during the medical test itself, it is discovered that this person has some disease, again say asthma. In that case also, there could be a waiting period which could be involved, but how much could be the waiting period again depends on your policy, number one. And number two, in such cases, premiums will be typically higher. Why? Of course, the insurance company knows that there is going to be an outflow at their end, so typically premiums will be higher. And one more point that I would want to bring to your notice is that if we are talking about certain medical conditions which don't fall into the emergency category, something like a cataract, in that case the waiting period could be a shade higher. It could go up to almost even 2 years. Again, how much waiting period is there in your policy? Please check that first and then proceed. Well, we did talk about co-payment clause, we talked about the exclusions, we talked about the zonal co-payment, we talked about the waiting period. There are 3 more clauses that we are going to discuss right now, and I'm sure you might be like, oh my god, how on earth am I going to check all these clauses and then choose the right insurance policy? Is there some easier solution for that? And answer is yes. Ditto has got you covered. They can help you to give absolutely free consultation, and they'll give you an honest insurance advice wherein their experts can call you at your convenient time, and they can help you to understand all the clauses which are there in either the life insurance or the health insurance policy. Once you're convinced that okay, this policy suits me the best, once you're convinced that okay, I've understood all the clauses, they can also help you through the entire buying process, and Bhagwan na kare, but if there is a claim to be processed, they will also help you to settle the claim. Number 2, if you have an existing health insurance policy, in that case also, they can help you review your policy, and they can also help you to change the health insurance policy. If you want to book your call with Ditto, don't forget to check out the link in the description box below. Also wanted to tell you that Ditto is backed by Zerodha. Let's move on with the next clause, which is about the room rent restrictions. Okay, now what is this about? There are certain insurance policies which will mention that most services rendered in your room, something like doctor's fee, consultant's fee, or it could be like other diagnostic exams, they will not be fully covered if you are choosing a room which is higher than the room limit which is mentioned in your insurance policy. Didn't understand? Okay, I'll give you an example. Again, we have Mr. Vichare and we have the XYZ insurance company from whom he has taken the insurance policy. Now, it was very clearly mentioned in his insurance policy that the room rent limit is rupees 5,000. But he chooses to go ahead with a room rent of rupees 10,000. Now, what all things are there in his bill? It is the room rent, then he has some doctor's fee, consultation fee, some diagnostic examinations, but only half of the bill will be covered by the insurance company and half will have to be paid by now Mr. Bichare. So, I hope you have understood that if there is a room rent restriction in your insurance policy, then be aware that entire bill might not be settled by the insurance company if you exceed the room rent limit. So, what is a better choice? Better choice is that select an insurance policy which does not have such a restriction. Let's move on with the next point, which is about cashless claims. But to understand about cashless claims, let's divide the discussion into 2 parts. One, wherein we are talking either about planned treatments, or number 2, where it is about emergency situations. First, let's start with planned treatments. In this case, what needs to be done if you want to go ahead with a cashless claim? In that case, at least 2 to 3 days prior to the decided date with the hospital for your surgery or whatever, you need to first go to the insurance desk at the hospital. Acha, of course, which hospital? Which is in the network of that specific insurance company, right? So, first you go to the insurance desk, you submit a copy of your insurance policy, you give your ID proof, you give them about the initial diagnostic reports, and any other documents if they are demanded by the insurance desk. You need to give all of these to the insurance desk when at least 2 to 3 days before the planned procedure. In that case, they will go ahead with a pre-authorization, and if the pre-authorization is done, then you need not pay even 1 rupee while you are being discharged. Okay, this is about planned treatments. What about emergency situations? Of course, you can't pre-intimate them, but in case of emergency situations, whenever the patient is admitted, within 24 hours from the date of admission, you have to intimate the same to the insurance company. If you don't do so, if 24 hours lapse, then it will be more of reimbursement rather than a cashless claim. I hope this point is also clear. But what if you don't have a cashless claim? What if you have a reimbursement claim only in the policy itself? In that case, what needs to be done is that after the discharge is done, within 15 to 30 days of the date of discharge, or in some policies it is given within 7 days of the date of discharge, you should initiate the claim process. Claim process can be initiated either online or from the registered office of the insurance company. Along with this filling up of the form, you need to attach the reports, you need to attach the original copies of the hospital bills, doctor consultation reports and diagnostic reports, and if any other document is required. I hope all the basic points about cashless claim and reimbursement claims are absolutely clear. Moving ahead with the last point, assume that you go ahead for a claim and you submit the final document, last document for the claim. What happens? Within 30 days of the last document submitted, the insurance company either has to settle the claim or they can reject the claim. Now, the big problem is that if your claim is rejected, then what? Step number 1, you can go back to the insurance company. Basically, you drop an email to the grievance redressal cell. You can drop the email, and if you don't receive a reply within 15 days, or if you receive the reply but the reply is not satisfactory, then you can approach to the insurance ombudsman. Now, who is this insurance ombudsman? Basically, he is a person who is like a mediator between people like you and me and the insurance company. Here, the redressal can be done only up to rupees 30 lakhs. But if you don't receive a proper reply from the insurance ombudsman, then what? Then you can approach IRDAI, which is the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India. You can call on this number, or you can also drop an email to this email address. And unfortunately, if this also does not work, then you can knock the door of the court. But of course, I hope you understand that this can be an expensive and a time-consuming affair. So instead of going through this long process, it will be better if you choose your insurance policy correctly, and to get a good consultation for choosing the right insurance policy, as I mentioned before, you can definitely approach Ditto. The link is there in the description box, and very important point, they have a no spam policy. If you loved this video, don't forget to share this with your friends. Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you want to know more about investing versus loan repayment, you can click here. And if you want to know more about whether you should invest in penny stocks or not, you can click here. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.